Hope is dangerous. Hope is dangerous. Now, is this something that I truly believe? I actually do. Because you don't ground hope in reality. You don't ground hope in a system. You ground hope in the unknown. You ground hope in the idea that just maybe this will work out. Just maybe this can go in my favor. Hope can lead to disappointment. Hope can lead to manipulation. That's why I myself, I don't believe in hope. But I do believe in facts. But I do believe in systems. What I do believe in is strategy. Think about it this way. I can hope that my situation changes, or I could put a plan in place and a system that can eventually lead to me getting to where I want to go. I was in California, and I hoped that this new job that I was acquiring, that was paying me $80K a year, would work out. But there was a caveat. I knew it depended on a clearance investigation. The hope was that they would hold the job and keep me there until it finished, and then I could really start working and make that money long term. The reality, taking that job leaves control completely out of my hands, and they could potentially let me go because they don't want to finish the investigation because it takes too long. And what ended up happening? They laid me off because the investigation was going to take a year to a year and a half. And at the 6 month mark, they're like, well, we don't have any work for you and we don't want to wait, so we're going to let you go. Plain and simple. That's what hope got me. But in the process of that hope, I gave myself a safety net in a way. I knew in order for me to maximize the amount of money that I was going to make, I needed to go to school. So while I was working there, I went to school. So even after losing that income, I still had income coming in. And then at that point, I didn't operate from hope. I operated from plans. Planning and systems and opportunity. I knew I needed to get a job immediately. And I knew the lowest barrier of entry was retail. So I looked for the best possible opportunity in retail just so I could find a job immediately. I had two options: part-time at Target or full-time at Walgreens. And for my plans, I knew I needed a full 80 hours every 2 weeks from a job to take care of bills. And I also knew in the future, if we wanted to get a house, I needed a full-time job. So in the end, I ended up picking Walgreens. Because not only was that the full-time job, it also was a lead position. So I wasn't just a regular worker, I was actually leading other people. It was calculated. So I got my foot in the door. I took that job. And while I was working there, I was still going to school. At that point, it was planning again. It's like, okay, so where do I go from here? Okay, well, at that point, the job was an hour away. I was driving an hour to and from work every day. So I knew in order for me to cut down that time, I needed to get a house that was closer. That's when we started looking for houses. Hope didn't do that, planning did that. We found a house, 2024. Okay, boom. We moved to the house in 2024. Now I live closer to my job. and now I am still going to school. So then after that, what do? Okay, I started planning again. I was like, all right, well, I need to finish this degree while I'm working here, and then after I finish this degree, I need to find a better paying job. So I worked at that Walgreens until I started in September 2023, and then until December 2024, I got promoted. How did I get promoted? I finished my degree that December, so then I got promoted to an assistant store manager that December. So in the end, what ended up happening was me planning on finishing that degree ended up helping me getting a better paid job inside of Walgreens. Boom, I do that, right? So now at this point, am I still going on hope? No, I never went on hope after that. Still planning. So now at this point, I'm thinking, okay, I could be a store manager. But then I'm looking at the pay and I'm like, that's not enough pay. I need to get paid more money so I can help take care of my family and take care of these bills. So I'm like, okay, well, I use my degree to get a better paying position inside Walgreens in retail. But I need to find another industry where I can get paid more using my degree. So at this point, I started thinking back to where I made my most money before in California. That was manufacturing. But not just manufacturing, I was hitting all bullet points, all different industries. By the way, I knew I needed to find a better paying job in a different industry. So I started applying to different industries with the fact that I had a new bachelor's degree. I actually had a few interviews. A few of them fell through. A few of them didn't work out. And then lo and behold, I say about 5 months later, I had an interview for a job, and I had a great interview. And then my phone cut off while I was in the interview. Like it overheated. I was like, okay, well, this isn't ideal. They rescheduled the interview. We do the interview. Energy felt different. Everything felt different. So at that point, it was like, okay. So then I didn't get the job. At this point, I'm still working at Walgreens, and I'm still the assistant store manager. And then what ends up happening is that job ends up messaging me months later, asking me if I'm still interested in a position. I'm like, yeah, of course. So we go through another interview. And what ended up happening? I ended up getting the job offer. More money, more base pay for a lower position. So the position wouldn't be a leadership role, it would be a regular associate role, entry level. But I still would be making more money than if I was a store manager at Walgreens. So at that point, I'm like, okay, well, this is opportunity I have. What are my chances here? And chances that I got, I'm like, well, I'll be starting at a new company again. I'll be starting over from the bottom. But in the end, if I'm going off of history, I've always started from the bottom everywhere I went. And everywhere I went, when I started at the bottom, I ended up moving up. So I said, fuck it, let's do it. So I take the job. And then, lo and behold, one of the requirements is you have to have a degree. I have that now. So now you're going through the background check and everything's coming out clean. And now you're looking at the job that I have right now, working in manufacturing, making more money than what I was at Walgreens. And that wasn't off of hope. That was off of planning. All that was off of planning and putting myself in a position to succeed. I say all that to say that hope is dangerous because in the end, hope doesn't prepare for the unexpected. Hope doesn't keep you ready for what could happen. It only hinders on what could possibly happen that's good for you, not the negative. Rely on plans and rely on systems. Don't rely on hope. Because right now in my position, I have a steady job that I've still been working at for months. I'm going to school for my MBA, which that's another story in itself. But let's just say I had to um, recalculate the amount of time in which it was going to take me to finish it and move some things around to make sure that I finish it the way that I want to. But I'm still online to finishing my MBA by next year in 2027, which is all part of the plan. So um, I got that happening, and that was all based off of planning. No hope involved. Hope is dangerous, and you should be careful. Be careful of it. I'm just Kastoan, and this is Hard Reset.